Okay. The cube root of 16, if it starts out as a cube root, your answer will always have to remain as a cube root. Now, what your goal is to find all of the prime factors and factor out as many as you can. So start with 16. The lowest prime number is 2. 2 times 8 makes 16. 2 times 4 makes 8. And 2 times 2 makes 4. So your factors are 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Because the index is 3, it takes 3 identical factors to factor out. So we have 3 2's, so we would factor out 1 2 to represent that group, and then we had a leftover 2 that stays underneath the radical. The next problem is a square root, which means it only takes 2 identical factors to come out from under there. Start at 2. 2 times 9 makes 18. 2 will not go into 9, but 3 will. 3 times 3 is 9. We're looking for pairs of factors. We have a pair of 3's, so we'll pull that 3 out. The leftover 2 stays under the radical. The cube root of 54, it takes 3 to factor out. Our answer will also be a cube root at the end. 54 is divisible by 2. That'd be 2 times 27 makes 54. 2 does not go into 27, but 3 does. 3 times 9 makes 27. 9 is not a prime number, so we factor it to 3 times 3. And our factors are 2 times 3 times 3 times 3. Now it takes a set of 3 to factor out. We have 3 3's and a leftover 2. We factor out 1 3 to represent the 3 3's, and we leave our leftovers in the radicand. Square root of 27 takes a pair of factors to come out from underneath the radical. 27 factors into 3 times 9. 9 is not prime. It becomes 3 times 3. Now, we have 3 3's, but we only need 2 to factor out. So I'm going to factor out a 3 to represent those 2, and the leftover one stays underneath the radical. The cube root of 375. It's a cube root, so it's going to be a cube root when we finish. We're looking for sets of 3 identical factors. 2 will not go because it's an odd number. 3 would most likely go, but I know 5 goes, and I can do that in my head, so I'm going to start with 5. 5 goes into 375 75 times. 5 times 75 is 375. Now, 5 is a prime number. 75 is not. 5 times, I could do 5 times 15, but I'm going to go with 3. 3 is my lowest number. I know it goes into 75 25 times, and then 25 will factor into 5 times 5. Now, on this one, I'm looking for 3 identical factors. I do have it. It's not as neat as it usually is. If I had started with 3, it would have been better. So I have 3 5's. I'll pull one of those out, and this leftover 3 stays under the radical. The square root of 32 is going to be a square root when I finish. I'm looking for pairs of factors. 2 goes into 32 16 times. 2 goes into 16 8 times. 2 goes into 8 4 times, and 2 goes into 4 2 times. Gives me 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Now I'm looking for pairs of 2's, or pairs of whatever. These are all 2's, so I'm looking for pairs. I have 1 pair, so pull it out. I have a second pair, pull it out as well. Those have to be multiplied. And the leftover stays under the radical. So on the outside, I have 2 times 2. I can multiply that. And my answer is 4 square root of 2. The cube root of 320, the answer will still be a cube. We are looking for groups of 3 identical factors. Going to start with the lowest number, which is 2. 2 times 160 makes 320. 2 times 80 makes 160. 2 times 40 makes 80. 2 times 20 makes 40. 2 times 10 makes 20. And 2 times 5 makes 10. Now, it takes 3 identical factors to factor out. I have a set of 2's, so pull that out. I have a second set of 2's, pull that out, multiply those. And I had a leftover 5 that stays in the radicand. Now I need to simplify. 2 times 2 makes 4. Cube root of 5. And that is the answer. The square root of 75 will remain a square root when we're done with it. 2 will not go, 3 will go. 3 times 25 makes 75, and 5 times 5 makes 25. It takes 2 identical factors to come out. There's 1. Pull out that 5. The leftover 3 stays in the radicand. 5 square root of 3 is the answer here. The cube root of 162 is going to be a cube root when we get done. Now, you can ignore all of this because that was the previous question. I'm going to start with 2. 2 times 81 is 162. Now, 2 does not go into 81, but 3 does. 3 times 27 gives me 81. And 3 times 9 gives me 27. And 3 times 3 gives me 9. Bless you. I am looking for 3 identical factors. I've got 3 3's. So I'll pull 1 3 to the outside. I have a leftover 2. And I have a leftover 3. Both of those will stay in the radicand. 2 times 3. And when I simplify, I'll have 3 cube root of 6. Last one, square root of 28. The answer will be a square root. Start with 2. 2 times 14 and 2 times 7. I'm looking for a pair. I've got a pair of 2's. Pull those out. The leftover 7 stays in the radicand.